When you think about truly impressive arms, what comes to mind? Well, today, we're going past the gym and stepping onto the Olympic stage. We're counting down the top 5 sports that forge the most functionally incredible arms on the entire planet.
So I want you to take a guess right now. What sport do you think it is? Maybe a boxer? A swimmer? You might have an answer in your head, but I'm willing to bet the real science-backed answer is going to surprise you. Let's see who really makes the cut.
All right, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll get into the actual science of how muscle grows. Then, the countdown begins with the numbers 5 and 4. We'll hit the heavy hitters at 3 and 2, and of course, reveal our #1 ultimate arm builder. Then, we'll wrap it all up with what makes these athletes so different and what you can take away from it all. You ready? Let's get into it.
Okay, before we can even start our ranking, we have to talk about how muscles actually get bigger and stronger. It's not just about mindlessly lifting weights. It's about giving your body very, very specific signals to adapt. And it really boils down to 3 main triggers. You've got mechanical tension, that's the force from lifting heavy things. Then there's metabolic stress. You know that awesome pump and burn you feel? That's it. And finally, muscle damage. These are the tiny micro tears that your body over-repairs, making the muscle stronger and bigger. The sports on our list are absolute masters of blending all 3.
So now that we've got the science down, it's time for the main event. Let's kick off this countdown.
Starting us off at number 5 is a sport you might have expected to see higher on the list.
It's Olympic weightlifting. And I know it seems strange, but here's the key difference. For a weightlifter, their arms are less about lifting the weight and more about acting as incredibly rigid, powerful pillars of support.
These athletes are absolute masters of something called rate of force development, or RFD. It just means their muscles aren't just strong, they are explosively fast. You really see this in their triceps, which have to contract with unbelievable speed and force to lock out those massive weights overhead. Think of their arms as structural columns built for pure, explosive stability.
All right, coming in at number 4, we're heading out to the water.
At number 4, we've got kayaking. Now, if a weightlifter's arms are like pillars, a kayaker's arms are more like high-performance engines built for one thing and one thing only: constant, powerful propulsion.
And the amount of muscle they build is just staggering. Check this out. Elite senior kayakers have over 14 kilos. That's more than 30 pounds of lean mass in their upper body. That is a direct result of thousands and thousands of hours of intense pulling, building this unique blend of both endurance and pure raw power. Okay, we are officially in the top 3. These next 2 sports are all about functional power, but they go about it in completely different ways. Storming in at number 3. It's shot put. These athletes are just built different. And their arms? They're the final explosive link in a kinetic chain, designed to transmit an insane amount of force from their entire body straight into that heavy metal ball.
Now, get this. You'd think it's all about chest and triceps, right? But the real secret weapon is in their forearms. In fact, research shows a nearly 1-to-1 correlation between the muscle size in a shot putter's forearm and how far they can throw. I mean, in the world of sports science, a connection that strong is almost unheard of. It's wild.
To put that into perspective, the size difference in their forearms compared to the average person is so big that scientists literally classify it as huge. Their arms have become these hyper-specialized tools for power transmission, an adaptation you just don't see anywhere else.
All right, let's talk about our silver medalist. The runner-up for ultimate arm development is one of the oldest, most grueling sports there is: wrestling. A wrestler's arms are not for show. They are forged for a single, brutal purpose: to dominate and control another person through sheer grip, pull, and non-stop isometric strength. And here's where it gets really interesting. The style of wrestling makes a huge difference. Because Greco-Roman wrestlers are only allowed to attack the upper body, the rules themselves force a specific adaptation. They end up with way bigger and more powerful arms than freestyle wrestlers. It's a perfect example of how rules shape the physique.
So far, we've seen arms built for support, for propulsion, transmission, and for control. But our #1 spot takes all of that and adds one more variable: a unique challenge that pushes the arms to their absolute breaking point and beyond. The undisputed #1 Olympic sport for developing the ultimate arms is gymnastics, and more specifically, the still rings. The secret here has nothing to do with lifting an external weight. It's all about mastering your own body weight in one of the most unstable environments imaginable.
So what makes the rings so incredibly effective? Think about it. When you're on a stable surface like a barbell, your main muscles do the work, but the rings are completely different. That instability forces a massive co-contraction. It's a fancy term, but it means your biceps and your triceps have to fire like crazy at the same time just to hold you steady. This creates a kind of internal war for stability, and the tension and stress that puts on your arms is just off the charts.
And the research backed this up, saying the rings force antagonistic muscles to exhibit extremely high activity levels. In other words, muscles that normally work opposite each other are both firing at max capacity. That is the secret to building that dense, powerful, and complete arm musculature you see in gymnasts. It's unmatched.
So, when you take a step back and look at our whole list, what's the big takeaway? It's this. In elite athletics, function always defines form. The specific demands of the sport are what sculpt the athlete's body.
We can see a really clear split here between what's called absolute strength and relative strength. Sports like shot put, with no weight classes, are all about pure size and mass. But sports like gymnastics and wrestling, where you have to move your own body or make a weight class, are all about relative strength, being as strong as possible for your body weight.
And you also see a split between pushing and pulling. Shot putters have triceps that act like powerful pistons. Kayakers and wrestlers have biceps and forearms that are like powerful levers. And this is exactly why gymnastics takes the top spot. It demands complete mastery of both pushing and pulling, creating the most balanced, well-rounded development of them all.
All right, let's bring it all home and wrap this up.
Here's a quick recap of our top 5. At number 5, weightlifting for support. Number 4, kayaking for propulsion. Number 3 was shot put for transmission. Number 2, wrestling for control. And our number 1, the king of them all, gymnastics for unmatched stability.
And that leads to a final question, and this one's for you. We've seen how at the highest level, function dictates form. So I want you to think about your own training. What's your function? What are you building your arms for? Is it for strength, for looks, for power, for endurance? Get clear on your purpose, because that is what will ultimately define your results.
And that's our list. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of what it takes to build Olympic-level arms. If you did, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into the real science of performance. Thanks so much for watching.